Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, I know I posted and said join us at 10 o'clock this morning to do this market update thing, but as par for the course in this business, schedule's changed. So I'm actually off to go meet a contractor at 10, so we're going to do this thing a little bit early. So my apologies for those of you who cleared your schedule or are planning your day around my 10 o'clock broadcast. So we're just going to jump right in, market update. Obviously, this is my favorite time of month because the stats came out for the prior month. So we're going to talk about that first and foremost. So let's just kind of just jump right in with how's the market looking, and we're going to start off with the stats that came out for the month of August. So I shared this last week with everyone. So I'm not sure who had a chance to look, but average home price in the Portland metro area is up to $511,000. It's up 1.7% from last month, which continues to climb 10.5% year over year. So people keep asking why I'm bullish on the Portland market. Here's why. I just don't see this thing stopping anytime soon. Inventory's tight. Demand stays high. Jeannie's typing a lot of emails while I'm doing this again. But all in all, it's a great market here in the Portland area. Closed sales are down 7% from last month, but if you keep in mind, if you kind of go back to the broadcast from last month, the closed sales in the month of July were up over like 25%. So yeah, we're down from a ridiculous jump. So they're still super high, 8.5% over prior year. Two biggest points of the news is the market is accelerating. 41 days average on the market, down from 42 last month, 48% or 48 days last year. So the market is certainly moving fast. The lower the price point, the faster the market moves, which is probably true in any given market. It is certainly true on this one. That said, the biggest news of why I continue to be big on Portland real estate, 1.3 months of inventory. Sorry, our inventory stays ridiculously low. We're down from 2.3 months last year. And probably this time last year, we would have been saying that the inventory is unsustainably low. It's not healthy. It's not good. This is frightening levels of inventory, and now we don't even have that much. So inventory is down. And again, you hear this from me all the time with the urban growth boundary limiting where we can build new construction homes. I just don't see how this goes away anytime soon. We have construction going on in Wilsonville, South Hillsborough, and that's about it in terms of major construction. There's a little bit of infills kind of here and there. Bethany area is always kind of expanding a bit, but you don't have large swaths of land that are being developed that huge communities at any one time. So this pressure just stays low, or the availability stays low, keeps the pressure sky high. So that's your market snapshot. Again, that was shared last week on our Facebook page. So jump over there if you want to just be able to study this in more detail. It's an incredible market. It's a great place, especially for first-time buyers who are looking to build some equity. This market's just going nuts. So another thing I want to kind of do, just to kind of put this all in perspective, is this is just sort of tracking inventory and home prices. This is basically every August going back to August of 2000. So August 2000 to August 2020. The blue bars are your inventory levels, and then the orange line is your average selling price. The red line, I did update that for the chart. This will show the baseline of current inventory, but you'll get the general idea. It's the lowest August inventory level, at least back to 2000, and I just didn't build this out beyond that because I just didn't want to. Anyway, so what you see is, it is tragically low inventory rates. You can see kind of the Great Recession back there. You see those inventories popping up pretty sky high. And then arguably, to put this in perspective of what's happening with our average selling price during the Great Recession, you see it there in the middle of the chart. You see the magnitude of the dip of your sales prices, and then you see the scope of the recovery since then. So prices are on a tear. I just don't see what's going to stop that. Where's the convince me otherwise meme, I guess, because I just don't know what derails this. We'll talk about COVID and foreclosures and that kind of stuff here at the end of this broadcast. So I'll even nip that argument in the bud here to an extent. So anyway, that's your market in terms of as it relates to last month. All in all, things are looking ridiculously great. So now it's kind of go a little bit more recent. I always show the stats too. The Century Lock activity. This is every time Jeannie and I go and open the door, pings logs an entry into this chart. So compared to last week, Oregon is down 3.8%. It'd be very easy for me to say, well, yeah, that's because of the fires and smoke and unhealthy air and all that. But then Washington's up 1.2%, and it's not much better up there for air quality. So, and this is Southwest Washington, so Vancouver area. So, no rhyme or reason. Portland did see a little bit of a lull. That said, I can say over this past weekend, there were large numbers of open houses that were happening despite the smoke and air quality. And people were reporting pretty consistent traffic and activity coming through those. So people are still out. The buyers are out. COVID has not stopped them. Raging wildfires and smoke and air quality has not stopped them. The buyers are out in force for sure, simply because there's just no inventory. So people are off looking. So otherwise, let's kind of jump into some other news kind of articles that just kind of help put this whole thing into perspective. But this is nationally, but it just reigns true for the Pacific Northwest and Portland as well. Consumers are upbeat about buying houses. The price expectations, they are what they are. The purchase sentiment index, and I'm not going to pretend like I know how they calculate this, so we'll just sort of put this in perspective. If you look back over the prior years that they show on this chart, we've trended up from the COVID blip. We are not back to where we were trending prior to that in terms of the feeling of is this an okay time? Is this a good time to buy? How's the market kind of a thing? It's sort of the litmus test there. So we're currently 77.5% on this index looking back historically. And let's put that in perspective, right, as it relates to Portland. Nationally, this index is at 77.5%. Locally, we're at $511,000 for an average selling price, which is 10.5% year-over-year growth. Inventory is down. Prices are on a tear. That's at 77 on the index. If we get back to pre-COVID, back to the 90s, what does that market look like in Portland? And I think this sort of foretells perhaps what's coming, say, probably next year. COVID gets under wraps, market stops burning. And we kind of get back to life as normal, if you will, whatever normal is going to look like going forward. And this index is back into the 90s. If we're at 511,000 average price now, what is that once we're back? People are fully confident in this market. I don't know, but that's going to be an interesting one to watch. So we'll tune in next year. Similarly, and this is, we get asked quite a bit of, well, is Portland just overheated? Are we getting overly hyped and so forth? So these are all national stories. The market is double-digit growth, and it's on double-digit declines in inventory. So this is not a Portland phenomenon. This is not anything that makes us special or unique, which is good because it doesn't make us particularly at risk for anything extraneous to anything else that we're seeing in the market. So it's just sort of true all over. There's just not enough homes, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Here again, we're biggest uptick in 2 years. Sales are up 21%, record low. And this article kind of talks about Boise being kind of a magnet area because as people are looking to leaving the West Coast, and that's going to be largely a testament to like San Francisco Bay Area where it's ridiculously expensive, and some perhaps leaving Oregon as well. The flip side here, though, is if you look at kind of up and down the West Coast in terms of affordability, with Portland being probably the most affordable major West Coast town, I think we're going to pick up an influx of people as well who are getting priced out of Seattle, Bay Area. They don't want California, and we'll talk why here in a second. So we're seeing that all over. Bless you, Gene. And then lastly, it's kind of echoing the same sentiment. The mortgage demand is 40% up from a year ago, given the sales spree. So, a year ago, he just sort of had the business as usual type of market. And now people realize, this is more a testament to the low rates, but it's the low rates, it's the low inventory, it's the surging cost. I'm convinced coronavirus has sparked a new interest in people of let's work from home. If I can telecommute, I don't have to stay in any particular area. So see what happens kind of long term. Okay, let's get into more local types of news. As people talk about, something that comes up, I see discussions on this online quite a bit, and I get asked about this every now and again of, yeah, everything's great, everything's all good, but we still have coronavirus going on. We still have record unemployment levels. We have people doing forbearances on their mortgages. There's a coming cliff, if you will, for foreclosures, and what's that going to do to the market, and our price is going to plummet. Here we go, Great Recession all over again. Those types of discussions. Yeah, and there's no crystal ball here, so all we can do is kind of look at the stats. So this chart came out, and it's the states with the highest and the lowest mortgage delinquency rates. That are at least 30 days past due. So you see the national average there in the middle, the green bar, and it puts it at 7 and change percentages. So you look at the top 5, the lower 5. Thankfully, Oregon's not, I guess, in the top 5. Nice if it's in the bottom, but it's not. So put that frame of reference. We are there. The national average is is in somewhere in the 7s. You can really tell in this chart. So again, you always have to go local for what really matters. So the Pacific Northwest, start looking at the where those rates are. Oregon's mortgage delinquency rate is 4.05%. We're the 46th lowest in the country. So how we're 46th, and I guess we're off the bottom 5. We're one off that chart. So how are we doing here local where it matters in the state of Oregon? We have mortgage delinquency. We have impact from the coronavirus. We're the 46th lowest in the country. So we're faring quite well. I think this is a testament to where we're hitting a lot of the national headlines that kind of come out saying those who are most largely impacted by coronavirus are not those who tend to be homeowners. So not that it makes it any better for those who are being impacted by this, but there's not going to be a coming foreclosure cliff that happens in this would argue pretty much anywhere in the Pacific Northwest, but certainly not in Oregon because we're just not there. So if you're sitting on the sidelines waiting for that as a Great Recession hangover effect to pick up bargain prices, I think you're going to be woefully disappointed. And then add to that, here's your unemployment trends for those 25 and older. And it kind of breaks that by demographics of education, but in all cases, that line is coming way down, coming down rapidly. So those things which would be causing your problems are starting to correct slowly, right? It's never going to happen fast enough, but it is coming. So I think if you're looking at an investment standpoint or just a move up or make that first time purchase, if you're thinking about trying to time the market, it's a losing bet in my mind. So I think you take more advantage of the low rates and make your move there. Okay, so what else is going to be fueling this? These articles starting to come out now, and I hate this name, but Zoom towns. It's basically people who are realizing I don't have to be in my major metro area wherever my employer is. If you're in San Francisco, or if you're in Des Moines, Iowa, or if you're in some Tornado Alley place and you don't want to be there, odds are you don't have to be much longer. I think people are opening up to the idea of telecommuting. Whether it's going to be on a full-time basis for people or 2, 3, 4 days a week type of a thing. We'll have to see what happens, but the trends are definitely coming. So I would say don't ignore this. The articles are everywhere. The freedom to telecommute could add almost 2 million potential buyers to the market. So as to the extent we see inventory maybe opening up here a little bit, and I said we talked about the kind of the coronavirus part of the limited inventory. So let's kind of hit on that as it relates to this here. So here we're going to see you have potentially a flood of new buyers coming in as people say, hey, I can go to other more desirable places. We've known for years the Pacific Northwest is highly desirable. The census migration trends have been here for a while. So this is going to add even more demand. With coronavirus, you're going to see a little bit of an uptick in the supply from one source. And that's people who are sitting on the sidelines, whether they tend to be older on a demographic basis, but just some others in general who say, coronavirus is going on. I don't want a bunch of people coming into my house. I'm not going to list my house right now. So those people in a more normalized market, yes, will list their home later, which will create a quote unquote surge, if you will, of inventory to the market. Is that going to be a meaningful number? Maybe, but again, we're at 1.3 months of inventory compared to 2.3 months last year. So where does it put us? 1.5, 1.6. You can put us at 2. It doesn't matter. It's still ridiculous inventory levels, enough to keep prices marching higher and higher. And then you add to that people who can telecommute, who can either move here from, say, California, more expensive areas, or down from Seattle, or from anywhere else in the country. And they would rather have quality of life. Does that offset all of the sideline players? Maybe, maybe it more than offsets, maybe it just dents it. There's a lot of moving pieces. So it's just kind of something to watch in general as we go forward. So then here, basically, they just kind of talk about, kind of what, how many more renters could be converted into buyers based off what we're seeing of mortgage rates and pricing and everything else. And kind of Portland's right there in the middle, and it's 11.7. So an additional 42,000 buyers potentially for those who are renting. I think this kind of factors in rent levels and mortgage rates and home values and so on and so forth, and just overall demand. So to the extent you've got a bunch of people sitting on the sidelines waiting to sell, this makes the argument you've got a bunch of people sitting on the sidelines that are thinking about buying maybe, or could buy, or probably should buy, actually, I guess, in that sense. And I guess, and one thing that I would argue everybody to kind of think about is if you were working at home, or you have the potential to be working from home, but you don't have a dedicated office in your home, you may want to give thought to this if you are going to be doing this long term. If you're fortunate enough, work from home for forever, because it's a much better work environment. If you have a dedicated home office, you can deduct that home office from and related expenses from your taxes. I'm not a tax professional, so get your own advice, but it is a mortgage write-off that you can have out there if you're itemizing everywhere else. If you're doing it on the dining room table or at a desk in your bedroom or things like that, it is not a tax allowable event. Some people probably still claim it, and God help you if you're doing it, because I don't want to get caught on that one. But so it's just something to think about. That there are some tax advantages on the homeownership side if you have the home office. So I think it's going to spur some people making changes who can work from home, don't have that space, and want to be able to kind of maybe move up the mortgage a little bit. It's going to push the price up a little bit, but then are you then off? It can be increasing your tax write-offs to kind of defer some of this increased cost. Not a bad investment, I think, long term. Certainly double bonus if you pick up the great backyard for the kids, because we've all seen quarantine sucks. And I guess this week now what we're learning is you better have a good inside to your house too, because now we're actually quarantined inside our homes here in the Portland area. So anyway, hope you guys are doing well. Hope you continue to stay safe with coronavirus. Stay inside. Pray for rain. Looks like the rain that was scheduled for tomorrow has dropped off the forecast, so I'm hoping that comes back. It's crazy times in the Portland area. So anyway, God bless. Stay safe. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.